Now we are starting with one of the chapter, which is employment. This is our first PUC chapter and edited version. So the chapter heading is employment and formalization of an employment chapter. Today's concept, I will be covering 4 chapters. The first concept which I am covering, definitely it is introduction part. So the second topic I will be covering, that is workers and employment, and the third concept which I will be covering with a bar, so that's a participation of people in employment. And the fourth concept which I will be covering today, that is self-employed and the hired workers. So let me come with a order wise. The first is introduction. What is employment and how? Where are people are working? Am I working? Yes. Am I working within the home? Yeah, outside the place. So these days, the employment version totally got changed because of corona, because of pandemic, because of so many other technologies. So let me tell you how exactly it was before. So before, people used to travel very long and very distances, and they used to go and teach. They're going to work in a different places. That is out of the house. For example, doctors works at hospitals. They have to travel to the out of the house. And teachers, they go to colleges, schools, they teach there. The bankers works in banks. So this way, everybody works out of the place. They come out, they work in the workplace. That's called workplace. If I'm teaching in my home, that is not the workplace. That is my house. If I'm coming to the college, if I'm teaching there, that's called workplace. So this way, before pandemic, the version called like home place working, so it wasn't there. So it was there, but very few areas, the few sectors they were working at home. When I'm talking about the workplace, so workplace, for an example, banking, it can be internal, external securities, law and maintenance, everybody come out of the place and they work. So these days, people are working at home also, like doing programming, IT, and these days, yes, teachers also we are teaching from home. So software companies, so many call centers, everything right now at home places. Even when I'm talking about home place, so many traditional works also done in our workplaces, in your home. For example, we have seen some cottage industries doing work at a home places. For example, pot making, you have seen that. So most probably lace making, sweater, weaving a cloth, these kind of activities we are seeing they are doing at their same place where they are staying. So this kind of people work in the workplace also, some kind of a traditional work, at the same time programming, IT works also. People work at workplace also. For example, schools, colleges, it can be hospital, lawyers, police, they come out and they're going to work. So this way, the people are working at home, at the same time they're working at the workplace also. So why do people work? The first question comes, if you are very lazy enough, always you will think, why we have to work? What is the necessity of working? Why can't we stay like this without working anything? What is the need of working? Isn't it? You always think that why we need to work. The first thing really definitely we have to talk about why employment is important. For economic activity, for the economic growth. If you want to see any economy is growing, that's because you are working. So why work is important? Let me write here why work is important. It plays definitely a very important role when it comes to economic growth. So first things definitely, it gives you earning. The most important reason why we are working, that is earning, isn't it? You need your livelihood. Where are you going? How are you going to survive? Without money, surviving is really impossible. For that reason, you need money. So if you need money, if you need salary, if you need remuneration, for that, yeah, wages in good terms, if you're talking about economics, wages, definitely you have to work. That to livelihood, to earn the livelihood, definitely you have to work. That is the first thing. So at the same time, it's a kind of a pride. It's kind of a pride and recognition in the society, isn't it? If you're working, if you're employed, isn't it a great recognition in the society? Yes, it is. If you're not working, if you're unemployed, the recognition, the pride you cannot feel. You feel very good when you go out of the house, your society. You feel so good that you are employed. Automatically, your society recognizes you, that you have a different pride when you go out and recognize yourself. And the next one. So here, I have to talk about other side also. Other people, they don't feel like working because they're inheriting the money. Inheriting means my father was very rich, he earned. Yeah, my grandpa was very rich, he earned so much of money. So I'm not working. Is it a pride in the society? Is it going to work? I don't think so. So the other kind of people also there who inherit the property. The people who inherit the wealth, yeah, property, yes, definitely they have a surviving, they have a livelihood, but is it a recognition in the society? Is it going to work for a long time? No, it is not going to work for a long time. So, at the same time, it is not beneficial for your own self, for the society also. If you are inheriting property also, you have to work, you have to contribute to the economic development. And one more reason why you have to work is, you have a dependence, isn't it? I'm working, I have my dependents. I have dependents like my parents. Right now, they're 60 plus, yeah, 50 plus. They're dependent on me. And my kids, my family, my in-laws. So many dependent people are there. For them, I have to work. So it is not only self-surviving, at the same time, so many people are dependent on me. For that reason, even working becomes very important. So definitely dependent people. For dependent people. So at the same time, you have to relate to the country. What you're doing? You studied, you got your education. After that, what you're doing? Nothing. How you can relate to yourself? So relating to yourself, becoming concerned towards country. For that reason also, working is very much important. And one more reason. If you're not working, production will be zero. You're not producing anything. If you're not producing anything, how national income is going to increase? It is not going to be happen. So if people are working only in that situation, we can see that national income will increase. Definitely, it is not only for my dependents. It is not only for myself surviving. At the same time, for the country's growth also, producing and involving yourself in the work is important. So definitely for national income. So here definitely comes like, what is national income? What is national income? Each and everybody here, we are getting some kind of a remuneration and the salary income. Yes, I am surviving because I have my livelihood, I am earning money. The same way, even country will get income. So that's called national income. It can be by so many sources. It can be by taxes, it can be by non-taxes, other fees, other administration, so many by other activities. Country also is going to get the income. The same way I am getting income to my livelihood, the same way the country is also going to get income. That income is called national income. The national income concept is very large and very big concept. So I don't want to drag much here. So when you're going to visit your second PUC classes, so in the next year, definitely you're going to learn better about it. So definitely, if we are working, only then the production is going to increase and national income is also going to increase. And this is called economic activity actually. What is economic activity then? We are all working, then what is economic activity? If you are contributing to the national income, if you are productive, for an example, if I am doing some illegal work, is illegal work is an economic activity? No, it is not an economic activity. Economic activity is that where you're producing something and because of that national income is going to increase. Only then that will be called as economic activity. So many people are involved in drug supply, the people are involved themselves in a corruption, they involve themselves with the black money. Is it call it as economic activity? Definitely not. The economic activity is that which will be contributed to national income. If any money you are producing that is counted in a national income, only then that will be called as economic activities. Otherwise, it won't be considered as economic activity. So this way, this is the introduction part where I was teaching. So why work people and employment, how many people are working and what they are doing, why we have to calculate this. It gives us a structure, insight to calculate what is the population and what is the human resource we have, how we can plan about it. Without awareness of a human resource you have already studied in the previous chapters. The human resource is nothing but the population what we have, converting them into skilled, educated, healthy people who can contribute better to the economic development. So the population what we have, after converting them, the human capital, which is really very important for a country's growth, how many people are a human capital and how we have to use them. Human capital is really very much limited, very less in our country when we are talking about. When it comes to population, definitely our country's population is ranking 2. But when it comes to human capital, so we couldn't convert all our population into human capital formation. Because of that reason, the human capital what we have to plan that in a better way. So we have to use it for economic development. For that reason, how many people are working and what they're, in which sector they are working and what they're contributing, gauging it, understanding it, it's really very important to measure how exactly human capital is employed in our country. So Mahatma Gandhi has also said, at the same time I love to quote even Basavana's quote, Kayakave Kailasa. So if you're working, you have a heaven in it. If you're not working, so that is a definitely empty brain is a devil's house. So because of that, by quoting it, so definitely I'll say that work is really very much important. This is just an introduction part I have given you why work is important. And the next part I have to talk about workers and employment. Who is a worker and what is employment? An agriculturist, a farmer, he's producing a crop. Let me consider sugarcane. You can consider as a cotton also example. So that is a raw material which is supplied by the farmer. If he is producing in his farm, in his agriculture, he is contributing cotton or sugarcane, some other person who is an industrialist, he'll go to a farmer, he'll deal and he is going to buy all the raw materials and he is going to convert that. If he is going to buy a sugar cane, he is going to convert that as a sugar. If he is going to buy a cotton, he is going to convert that as a cotton cloth. So this way, the farmer, what raw materials he have produced, that will be purchased by an industrialist and he is going to convert that as a finished good. Isn't it? Agriculture, he is doing his work, producing a raw material, food grades. That is a work. Yes, it is a work. On the other side, industrialist, he is purchasing all the raw materials and he is converting that into finished good. Is it a work? Yes, it is called as a work. After the production from the industrialist, what he'll do is, he want to sell that in the market. Few people who are involved in the transportation people, they'll carry all the goods and services which is produced by the agriculturist and the industrialist. He going to take it from one place to other place through transportation. Is transportation, by doing it, it's a work? Is exactly, it is a work, it is an employment. So this way, each and everybody actively, they are involved themselves in the production process. It is called as a work and they are called as a worker, and the activity what they are doing, that is called employment. I am working here. Yes, I am a worker. Yes, I am a worker because I am giving service. I am teaching. I am giving service. So I will be called as a worker. The job which I'm doing, I'm actively producing something, I'm contributing to national income, yes. So this is called employment. I am contributing to the national income. I am producing something. I'm giving education to the students, so definitely it is a employment. So this way, a lot of people are involved in a working activity, employment activity. They are called as workers and employment. When I'm talking about worker and employment, so definitely here, one of the topic which I have to talk, that is GDP, that is gross domestic product. What is gross domestic product? Each and every year, so I just want to raise few of the points. We're going to take 1 year of time span, which is the financial year. The financial year right now we have from April to March. So this way, one financial year will be considered whatever goods and services, G and S is nothing but goods and services. Whatever goods and services you have produced within the country. The third point which you have to remember to consider GDP, that is within the country. 1 year of time span, whatever goods and services you have produced within the country, all market price will be considered. The finished good prices will be considered, and we're going to measure how many goods and services we have produced and what is the value of it. That will be called GDP, gross domestic product. Within one financial year, whatever goods and services we have produced within the country, the total value of it, that too market value, a finished goods value, that will be called as GDP, gross domestic product. So the people who are employed, they are contributing to the GDP. So the next concept here, one more concept which we have to talk, that is GNP. Gross national product. What does gross national product means? So here, I've mentioned in the GDP, whatever goods you're producing within the country. I have never mentioned about imports. What does imports means? Imports means the goods which you're buying from other country. But GDP considers the goods which you have produced within the country. So in the GNP, before talking about GNP, let me talk about imports and exports. What is exports here? You are producing goods and services within the country and we are selling to some other country. So it's called exports. And you do not have some of the goods. You are buying it, we are purchasing that from other country, so that will be called imports. So here we are going to count net worth. What is net worth is export minus import. Export minus import. Export is done by us. Import done by other country. So import means we are purchasing to our country. Export, we are selling. Which one is good? Export, yeah, import. If you ask me a question, so definitely selling is a good option than the buying. If you are selling, your pocket will be filled with money. If you are purchasing, your pocket will be finished, empty. So selling is the best option for any country. So export should be more than the imports. So this worth when I'm talking, so we can consider the worth, it can be positive, trade can be positive, trade can be negative, trade can be zero. What is trade is positive? Trade positive means where exports are greater than the imports. You are selling more than you are buying. So that will be called as positive trade. Yeah, you have an advantage in a trade. Negative trade means where imports are leading exports. Imports are greater than the exports. So that will be called negative trade. We use minus, otherwise we call it you have a disadvantage in the trade. And the third one what we have, that is a zero. Trade can be zero. How net trade can be zero? You are exporting to the 100 rupees. You are importing 100 rupees. The subtraction will be zero. For an example, I am exporting 100 rupees worth goods and I am importing 100 rupees worth goods. 100 rupees minus 100 rupees. So there is no selling, there is no buying, so there is no net worth. So that will be called zero. So the three options you have when you're going to trade. One, exports are greater than the imports, which is positive. The second one, imports are greater than the exports, which is negative. For the country, it is not good. Third one is a zero, where exports are exactly equal to imports. So that will be the no profit, no loss situation. Your not exports are leading, not imports are leading. So that will be beneficial for you only. So this way, so the GNP is also very much important when it comes to contribution to the national income. So how much you are importing and how much you are exporting. So definitely every country should have this positive one. We should export more. If you ask me in the three options which is best for you, so definitely everybody will say that export should be greater than import, only then the country growth will be good. So the country economic activity is working very better in that situation. If imports are greater than export, the country growth is less, the production is less, which talks about definitely employment. If exports are less, that means the employment what we have, the human resource what we have, we are not using properly. We are not able to produce much. If imports are more, in that case, we have to consider, so if exports are good, that means we are really good at producing, our human resource planning is really good. So this way, GNP and GDP definitely it identifies how many people are working and how many are employed and what is our production and what is our contribution to the GNP and GDP, that is definitely indirectly expressed by employment and the worker. If worker and employment is less, production will be less, export will be less, GDP, GNP will be less. If workers numbers are more, employment ratio is good, human resource what we are using that is really very higher, in that case GDP will be very high rate, GNP will be good, so that means country's production, country's income, exports are in leading. So this way I'll complete this topic, workers and employment topic. So when it comes to nature of employment, it is multifaceted. What is multifaceted? Whom you call it as a worker. For an example now, I'm 1 week, I'm not well, I'm sick. So, am I a worker? Am I considered in the worker, employed person? Yes, I am considered as a employed person, because just because I'm unwell, I'm taking leave for 1 week, I won't be considered as unemployed. So whom we call it as employed then? Who are contributing to the national income? If they're just not attending employment, work for 1 week, 15 days, 1 month, because they have met with some accidents, they have some social functions, otherwise their health is not good, because of some social responsibility, if they are not working for 1 week, 1 month, for 2-3 months, they are not considered as unemployed. They are considered employed just because of few reasons, couple of reasons they are not attending employment, but they will be counted for employed people. So as I said before, employment is multifaceted. How it is multifaceted? Few people work whole year without taking a break. Employed, you're working freak people. They 365 days to 365 days, every day they will be employed. Few people are there, they work for only couple of months, 2 to 3 months. Usually the situation we see in the agriculture sector, because in the seasonal work they work. Few people work for a couple of months. Few people doesn't work at all. Even that kind of a people also we have in our country, because our country's population ratio is so much, more than that population ratio, I can use a best word, we have a population explosion. Because of that, what we are seeing is definitely so many people are unemployed also. And so many people, they are working, but they are not recognized. They are not counted as a employed people. For an example, a woman who is a housewife. She is working, she is cooking, she is fetching the water, she is contributing in the agriculture work field. She'll cook, she'll prepare a food for the people who are working in the agriculture land. She'll bring the food, she'll cook, she'll serve, and she'll go home. She'll take care of the children, she'll take care of the family. Is she considered as employed? No, she is not considered as employed. So this way, it is multifaceted. People work whole year, people work few months, people work only 2 months. Yeah, few people, they are working, but they are not recognized at all. And few people, other kind of people also there, they work, but they doesn't get wages at all. So these kind of the multifaceted activities we have when it comes to employment. So after this, definitely, I like to talk about what is the people, how many people are working in our country, what is the worker population ratio. Let me consider that. So according to 2011 and, okay, let me clean here. Okay, let me write here. According to 2011 and 12, 473 million people are working. According to 2011 and 12 census, 12 records, it says that 473 million people are working, yeah, employed in our country. So no need to say, in this definitely male ratio, yeah, men ratio is more than the women ratio. So definitely in the further, when I'm going to talk about participation of employment and self-employed, I'll consider women and men ratio. As of now, it is more than enough. 473 million people are working, majority in it, rural area people. The majority people who are contributing in this 473 million, they are rural people. What is the reason behind why rural people are more? First thing, when it comes to rural-urban composition is a composition where it tells what is the majority people who are living where. Population, where they are living maximum. Are they living in the rural area? Are they living in the urban area? We people now, we stay in an urban area. Urban areas are nothing but cities actually. We stay in a cities, so we think that people are staying in a city, so urban areas are more. But it is not true. Till now, 70% of our population, they are in the rural area. Hardly 30%, 25 to 30% of the population, they are in the urban areas. The maximum, the people are in rural area. So that's the reason when it comes to 473 million of people, yeah, population, the maximum ratio people who are working, contributing in this 473 million, they are rural people, not the urban people. I'll tell you the reason. Okay. So in this, when it comes to rural, 3/4% of the people, rural area, they are contributing to this. In this, men contribution is 70%. Men contribution is 70%. And when it comes to women, so it is easy to find out if men is contributing 70%, the women contribution is only 30% in this. When it comes to 473 million people, in this 70% are men and 30% are definitely women. Women ratio is really very, very lesser. When it comes to 30% of women, in that also, how many are working in a rural? And how many are working in a urban area? In this, 1/3 are working in the rural area and 1/5 of the population in this they are working in urban area. Isn't it? It's a critic, but this is a fact we have to go with. So when I'm telling you 473 million population, they are employed. In that, 70% is men. Hardly we have the 30% of a women who is recognized as a worker, as a employed. In that also, in the 30%, 1/3 is a rural women and 1/5 is a urban women. So definitely, so if you consider the comparison wise, definitely women ratio and her contribution to the economic activity, to the national income, it is really very less. Why it is happening? What is the reason behind? Why women contribution is really lesser than the men? What is the reason behind it? If you consider actual reason, the first thing is definitely it is a male dominant society. All the decisions are taken by men. So, and a woman, maximum she works at a family work, a household work. So as I told you before, she have to take care of the children and she have to take care of a whole family. So her contribution to going out and getting education and skill, it is really less. For her, this society is not offering much of opportunities to go out, to get education, to get employed, to equally participate in the employment opportunities. The society is not giving her opportunities. Because of that, at the same time, with this, she is having other activities like, as I told you before, she have to take care of the family, household, cooking, fetching and taking care of the kids. It's all her responsibility. Because of that, she already finds it's too hectic schedule. So going out and working and contributing to the worker population ratio for her, it is really impossible. That is the reason why this is the ratio, only 30% of women is participating in it. Another one reason it is there, when women is working, so many times she is not getting the wages. She is not recognized. Instead of getting a wages, some people they give food grains, so she can use it for a household. So for these kind of reasons, also one of the reasons why women she don't want to work. If she is working also, she is not paid any wages, she will be paid some food grains sometime. Otherwise, maximum time she is not paid anything and she is not even recognized. So that is one more reason why women participation is very less when it comes to worker employment contribution. Okay, I'm done with the second one, the workers and employment. And I'm going stretching my concept to the third one, that is participation of people in employment. So let me show you a table, what we have, that talks about the sex. We have two genders, two sex we have taken, that is a men and the women. And we have taken two areas, which is a rural and urban area. So men and women comparison, that will be called a sex ratio, where we're going to compare how many men and how many women are working. And in the rural-urban composition, related to rural-urban comparison, we're going to do it. So let me go with the comparison here. So men, the total what he is contributing to the national income, so that is 54.4. 54.4 population who is the men, they are employed, they are working, they are participating at the working population. When it comes to women, as I said before, the ratio is really less, which is 21.9%, and the total participation it can consider 38.6%. When it comes to rural area, 54% men, and in urban 54. The ratio is almost same here. When it comes to women in the rural area, she is employed for 24.8%, and the urban area 14.7%. In the urban area, you can see that the women participation to the employment, it is really very less. And when it comes to the total, in the rural area 39.9% and the urban 35.5%. So let me give you a few more, it's okay, let me discuss about what is worker population ratio. We have a total population, The population according to the 2011 census is 121 crores. In this 121 crores, how many are working? How many are employed? How many are contributing to the national income? How many are involved themselves in the economic activity? We're going to measure this. So how are you going to measure this worker population ratio? For this, you're going to consider how many are employed in the total population, how many are employed, how many are working, yeah, how many are employed, and we're going to consider the total population. What is the exact population? What is the total employed number? How many people are working in our country? The total employed people and workers divided by total population. How many people, what exactly the population number we have into 100. Into 100. If you consider this with this formula, we'll get to know worker population ratio. What is the population? In that population, how many people are working? The people who are working, they are called worker population ratio. And this is the formula to measure worker population ratio. Very easy one. How many are working and what is the population into 100. If you multiply with the 100, so you will get worker population ratio. So after this, let me come with few more data. So when I'm talking about the data, in 100 people, how many are working? If you ask me, the answer is 39. This is about India, not any particular states, locality, area. I'm not considering here. It is total India's information, actual data which we are giving. Total 100 people. In 100 people, how many are contributing to the national income? How many are working? What is the population ratio, working population ratio? It is 39 people. For 100, 39 people are working. When it comes to urban, it is 36. For 100, only 36 people are working. When it comes to rural, it is 40. When it comes to rural area, 40 people are working. Isn't it great? So we always praise urban areas. We always think that urban areas are the areas where we have all the best infrastructure, all the best employment opportunities. But still, when you're seeing this, the maximum people who are contributing to the working population ratio, it is a rural one. So let me tell you what is the reasons behind why in urban areas only 36 people are working for 100 and why in a rural area 40 people in 100. So let me go with the rural first. So when I'm talking about rural, first thing most importantly, the education opportunities are less, isn't it? The education opportunities are less. The institution, the school, the awareness, the exposure to the students, it is really very less. That is the one reason, because education quality institutions numbers are less. The second reason, the enrollment is less. They don't want to enroll. They don't want to involve themselves in any kind of activity. The second one, they want to earn their livelihood. In the rural area, the people who are in a rural area, their income level is really low. Because their income level is less, they want to involve themselves in any activity where they can get money. Because surviving livelihood is the main aim, objective of any person, to live, to survive. In this situation, the maximum students who are going to school, the enrolled, they'll quit the schools, they quit the colleges, they want to work, they want to earn the livelihood. Because of that, this rural worker population ratio is increasing. Because they don't want to study, because the opportunities are less. On the other side, if you talk about urban places, why only 36 people are working? The simple reason, they have lot of institutions which offers education. They have multiple opportunities. At the same time, employment opportunities also very best. When institutions, number of institutions and number of opportunities they have, exposure level is really very high. Compared to rural people, they're financially, they are stable. The urban people are financially stable. Because of that, they'll go for a higher and higher education, they'll go for the best opportunities in the future. But when it comes to rural area, the people who are income level is really very less. They quit the schools, they quit the colleges, they don't want to join the schools because for them, surviving at its need. They want to survive, so they have to quit the jobs. They have to quit their schools and colleges. They are joining to the worker population ratio. That is the reason why in the rural area, the people who are employed working, the ratio is higher than the people who are working in urban areas. So this is the ratio, what it is very much needed. So next concept, let me talk about more males, when it comes to data, more than the males, females are working. Let me continue this concept in the next class. Thank you so much.